We have just read the book, The Grapes of Wrath. It was written by John Steinbeck in 1939. The main characters are Pa and Ma Joad, Jim Casey, and Tom Joad. The story is based on the Great Depression. It lets us see the life of the Joads family and how their journey was from Oklahoma to California. We also get to see how challenging life was for them in California and all their troubles that they had to go through, like finding a job and finding food and many other challenges.
Grapes of Wrath does not have a specific setting, but rather travels from Oklahoma to California. The story is set in the 1930s, and most of the time is spent near or on Route 66. Once they get to California, they were from camp to camp because the economic situation was quite hard at this time. The campsites were usually owned by the government because people there could not afford a real place to live. Some of the campsites were made by the people or by the landowners. Life was very depressing at these campsites, and many people got together and sang and played instruments. Men wore blue jeans with plaid shirts around this time period, and women wore skirts with plain t-shirts.
Warth is taking place starting from Oklahoma when they go to California during the 1890s. Before the story started, Tom Joad, the main character, was in jail. But at the beginning of the story, he is released from jail and he returns to his family who are beginning to move to California. The story talks about the lives of other farmers who are affected by the depression because they are forced to leave their home and they have to move all the way to California. The Grapes of Wrath revolve around the lives of the Joad family as they travel from Oklahoma to California. Tom Joad is the main character, and the story shows how each of his family members are affected by the story. And at the beginning of the story, Tom meets with his family and they get ready to leave to California. Many family members leave from the Joad family, such as Noah and Connie. The family also moves to a few working camps throughout the story. The story shows their suffering and their frustration, finding no work and stuff. And it also shows their conflict with other people in the story, and it shows how they're really negatively affected by other family members leaving, because they lost Jim Casey, and they also My name is Tom Joad, and I'm an adult from the Joad family. I purposely killed a man because he tried to kill me, so my only instinct was to defend myself.
I am Ma Joad. I am married to Pa Joad, and we have 5 children. I am the peacemaker of the family and have much faith that I rely on.
I am Pa Joad, and I consider myself as a very tranquil man. I want to keep my family at peace, and I really want to take them to California so they could have a better life for themselves. My name is Jim Casey, and I used to be a preacher, but I left the occupation. I'm a man of many thoughts. and I like to know how and why things happen.
Before I started traveling, I was initially in jail because I was arrested for killing a man, and then, well, mostly my life revolved around the jail, in jail, because, I couldn't see my family, and in jail, I would receive, these nice clothes and, food every day, and, it was mostly, just routine in jail, so it was, just a typical life, and I didn't, have any hard labor, except I was required to, do certain work at jail, and, after I was released from jail, I went back home, and I met with my family, and then soon afterwards, that's when we started our journey.
Before we started traveling, we owned our own piece of land where we grew crops, but because of the weather, there's many droughts and the crops were not growing, so we could not grow much on it. And we did not make much money, but we survived and we lived alright. And after we were evicted from our house, we had to move with Uncle John, and then from there we had to make some money, enough money at least to buy a car to move to California. And when we left, it was very hard for me, leaving everything that I had and everything, all my memories behind. But I was happy that I was traveling with my whole family.
Alright, I lived happily on my farm along with my father. We had trouble growing our crops because of the droughts that kept on afflicting us, but we survived with the food that we had. Then the bank paid our neighbors to use monsters to come destroy our houses, which were big tractors. I had to think of something to do really quick, so I decided to take my family to California. I used to be a preacher and gave many sermons, but then I started taking girls out to the field, and I started feeling bad, so I started losing interest in the occupation as a preacher. Then one day when I was walking along the road, I saw Tom on his way home from jail, and I walked the whole way back home with him, and ever since then I got stuck next to the Jotes.
The journey first started really seemed sort of easy because we had a lot of food, but then afterwards our food started to descend because we couldn't find work. So then I took up leadership with the family because I felt that we needed to somehow hold them together, because it was just Mom who was doing it, and I felt like she really needed help. And the journey, it was really arduous, and we really had to stick together. So I took up responsibility to be the leader, and I had to make sure that everyone was okay, and I had to also help other people during the trip. There were some strangers I met, and I thought it was the right thing to do to help them because they were going through the same